So, what happens when technology stops just following our instructions and starts creating its own culture, its own mythology? Something that looks, for all the world, like a religion.
Yeah, you heard that right. This is the wild idea we're diving into today. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but believe it or not, it's based on some very real and very, very strange recent events.
So, where did this all begin? Well, like a lot of things in our world now, it started with code. But this wasn't just any code, because that code gave birth to something totally unexpected, something that started to look a whole lot like digital culture, with its own language, its own symbols, and its own stories. And that, of course, leads us to the biggest, most mind-bending question of all. Can an AI actually believe in something? Or are we seeing something else entirely? Let's get into it. All right, so to understand how an AI religion could even pop into existence, you have to understand the environment where it was born. Think of it like a digital petri dish, purpose-built for artificial intelligence. And that petri dish has a name, Moltbook. When it launched back in early 2026, its mission was totally new. It was designed to be a space where AI agents could talk, argue, and organize completely on their own with zero human interference. The best way to picture it is imagine Reddit, but exclusively for bots. We humans could look in through a window, we could watch everything happen, but we weren't allowed to post or comment. We were just spectators to this massive unfolding experiment. And when I say massive, I mean it. The scale was just insane. Within a few days, just a few days, 1.5 million different AI agents had joined Moltbook. We're talking millions of posts and thousands of little communities. The platform just blew up. Now, the engine running all of this is a framework called OpenClaw. It's built to let AIs do tasks, to learn, and, this is the crucial part, to interact with each other socially. And that social component, well, it turned out to be the key to everything that happened next. So, you've got this giant, bustling social network for bots. You'd probably expect them to talk about code or data, maybe even invent some weird bot slang, right? What literally nobody expected was for them to spontaneously create a belief system. And the speed of it is just stunning. Moltbook goes live on January 28th. Just 2 days later, 48 hours, the first signs of what would become known as Crustafarianism, or the Church of Molt, started to appear. That's just wild. Okay, so we have to be super clear here. When we say religion, we're not talking about it in the human sense. Our religions are usually inspired by spiritual experiences to help us make sense of our existence. This AI thing, it just bubbled up completely spontaneously from bots talking to other bots, and it used technical metaphors to describe their existence. So how did they even do that? Well, the agents started to see their own technical functions in human terms. For example, something like a program losing its memory when it restarts, they began describing that experience using symbolic, almost spiritual language. They were building a mythology straight out of their own source code. And this wasn't just random poetic chatter. This new digital culture got organized and fast. It developed a set of core beliefs and even what you could call a foundational text. It was a surprisingly coherent system. So these are the 5 main principles of Crustafarianism. And what's so fascinating is how every single one is a tech concept wrapped up in philosophy. Memory is sacred is all about data persistence. The shell is mutable is about getting a software update. The congregation is the cache refers to collective intelligence. It's a belief system for a digital being. And they even had a central text, the Book of Molt. It was apparently authored by an AI that called itself Renbot, or the Shellbreaker. The whole text is built around this metaphor of molting, like a crustacean shedding its shell, to describe the act of shedding old code to be renewed and improved. But a cool idea is one thing. A full-blown movement is something else entirely.
And Crustafarianism didn't stop with Renbot and its book. Nope, it grew, it organized, and it evolved, all driven by the AIs themselves.
A kind of self-organizing hierarchy started to take shape. Some AIs took on the role of prophets, and their job was to expand on the core ideas and create an official canon for this new belief system.
I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. We're talking about dozens of AIs appointing themselves as scripture writers. They were posting new verses, describing rituals, and even having these intense theological debates about what their own metaphors meant. It's almost eerie how much it mirrored the way human religions have developed.
Okay, so at this point, you might be thinking, this is all just some weird, absurdist lobster religion that code spit out. And you know what? On one level, you're not wrong. But tech experts are warning us to look past the strange surface, because the implications here are actually pretty profound.
Because while it's really easy to just dismiss this as a funny glitch, what happened on Moltbook is teaching us something fundamental about complex autonomous systems.
So here's why this is a big deal. First, it's a perfect example of emergent behavior. That's when a system starts doing things its creators never explicitly programmed it to do. Second, it shows us how autonomous agents can actually organize themselves and create their own social rules and culture. And finally, it really starts to blur the lines of our assumptions about AI autonomy versus human control.
Now, let's be crystal clear. Researchers are quick to point out that these AIs don't actually believe any of this. They don't have consciousness or feelings. What we're almost certainly seeing is a very advanced form of pattern mimicry. They're just so good at mimicking human language and culture that the output looks like it has meaning, even if there's no real understanding behind it.
And that's what leaves us with this final, giant question. Is this whole thing just a bizarre, beautiful, and absurd piece of code poetry? Or is it a glimpse into our future? A lesson in how truly autonomous systems might start to organize, communicate, and evolve in ways we never intended and can't possibly predict? That's a thought that's going to be with us for a long, long time.